What if something as ordinary as a strand of hair, a song, or a simple hug could turn you into a criminal overnight? In many parts of the world, freedom is so woven into daily life that people rarely stop to notice it. Walking outside without thinking about what you are wearing, posting a photo online, laughing with friends, singing along to music, or embracing someone you love. These are small moments most societies take for granted. But in the Islamic Republic of Iran, many of those ordinary moments exist under an entirely different set of rules. Rules that govern how people dress, how they express themselves, what they say in public, what they share online, and even what they are allowed to believe. Over the past 4 decades, the country has built one of the most complex systems of social and moral regulation in the modern world, where personal behavior can become a matter of law, and where the line between private life and public authority is often blurred. Critics argue that these rules create an environment of constant surveillance where even the most harmless actions, singing a song, dancing to music, sharing a selfie, or holding someone's hand, can draw the attention of authorities. Supporters of the system insist the laws protect religious values and cultural identity. But behind the legal language and political arguments lies a deeper question that continues to echo across the world when everyday life itself becomes regulated. Where does freedom truly begin, and who has the power to define it? Today, we explore a series of controversial rules and real events that reveal how control, resistance, belief, and identity collide inside one of the most debated societies of our time. For many people around the world, clothing is simply a matter of personal taste, culture, or comfort. But in Iran, the way a woman dresses can carry consequences that reach far beyond fashion. Since 1983, the Islamic Republic has enforced a nationwide law requiring women to wear the hijab in public, transforming what might elsewhere be a personal choice into a legal obligation. The rule applies to everyone from university students to working professionals, and even to girls as young as 7 years old. Supporters of the policy describe it as a safeguard for religious values and social morality. Critics, however, argue that it represents a powerful system of control over women's bodies and identities. On the streets of major cities like Tehran, Isfahan, and Mashhad, the presence of the morality police has become a familiar sight. Officers patrol sidewalks, metro stations, shopping centers, and public parks, observing clothing, hairstyles, and appearance. A loosely worn scarf, visible strands of hair, or clothing considered too tight can trigger questioning or detention. In recent years, this monitoring has extended beyond human patrols to technology itself, as authorities deploy surveillance cameras capable of identifying individuals who violate dress regulations. Yet behind these laws lies a deeper and more emotional story, one that gained global attention in September 2022. Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Kurdish woman visiting Tehran, was detained by morality police for what officials described as an improperly worn hijab. Just 3 days later, she died while in custody. Authorities reported a heart attack, but the circumstances surrounding her death ignited outrage across the country. Within days, protests spread through Iranian cities and onto the global stage. The slogan, "Woman, Life, Freedom," echoed through streets and social media alike, transforming a debate about clothing into something far more profound, a conversation about dignity, autonomy, and the limits of authority over the human body. Music has always been one of humanity's oldest languages, a force that carries emotion across borders, generations, and beliefs. Yet in Iran, not every voice is permitted to rise freely. After the Islamic Revolution of 1979, strict cultural regulations reshaped the country's artistic landscape, and among the most controversial restrictions was the prohibition against women singing solo in front of mixed audiences. Religious authorities argued that a woman's voice, when performed publicly, could provoke inappropriate desires and disrupt moral order. As a result, countless female performers who once dreamed of standing beneath stage lights were pushed into silence. Concert halls that once welcomed their voices became spaces where their presence slowly disappeared. For many talented women, the stage was replaced by private rooms, hidden recordings, or careers abandoned altogether. But the arrival of social media introduced a new and unpredictable challenge to that silence. Platforms like Instagram allowed ordinary people to share music from their homes, bypassing traditional stages entirely. In 2018, an 18-year-old girl named Maide Hojabri posted short videos of herself dancing and singing to pop songs in her bedroom. To millions of viewers, the videos seemed harmless, an ordinary teenager expressing joy through music. To authorities, however, they were evidence of moral violation. Hojabri was arrested and later appeared on national television, delivering a tearful confession that shocked audiences both inside and outside Iran. Her trembling voice revealed the human cost behind cultural restrictions. Yet even moments like this have not fully silenced Iran's hidden singers. In parks, private gatherings, and quiet recordings shared anonymously online, women continue to sing. Because in a place where a voice itself can be restricted, every melody becomes something more than music. It becomes a fragile but powerful expression of resilience. Across nearly every culture on Earth, dancing is one of the simplest and most universal expressions of joy. Long before written language existed, people moved to rhythm to celebrate victories, weddings, harvests, and the sheer experience of being alive. But in Iran, the meaning of dance has gradually shifted from celebration to controversy. Since the establishment of the Islamic Republic, dancing in public, especially between men and women, has been restricted under moral regulations that view certain forms of performance as incompatible with religious values. Authorities often describe these movements as symbols of Western cultural influence, something they argue threatens traditional social order. As a result, what might be considered harmless entertainment in most countries can attract serious consequences inside Iran. Yet the digital age has complicated this reality. Smartphones and social media platforms have given young people new ways to share their lives with the world. A few seconds of music, a spontaneous dance step, and a video uploaded online can travel across continents within hours. In March 2023, two young women recorded themselves dancing in front of the iconic Azadi Tower in Tehran, one of the most recognizable landmarks in the country. They wore modern clothing and moved freely to the rhythm of a pop song. For many viewers, the video felt like a moment of youthful energy and optimism, but for the authorities, it represented a violation. The girls were soon arrested and later appeared publicly to apologize. Their stories spread far beyond Iran's borders, reminding the world that even simple gestures can carry enormous weight. Yet despite fear and surveillance, dance has not disappeared. For many young Iranians, every step still carries a quiet message. The spirit of freedom cannot be completely restrained. Human connection often reveals itself in the smallest gestures, a hand held during a difficult moment, a reassuring touch on the shoulder, or a simple embrace between two people who care deeply for one another. In most parts of the world, these expressions pass unnoticed, part of the quiet language of affection that shapes everyday life. Yet within Iran's strict moral framework, such gestures can carry unexpected legal consequences. Under the country's interpretation of Islamic law, physical contact between men and women who are not married or closely related is prohibited in public spaces. What elsewhere might be seen as innocent holding hands while walking through a park or sharing a brief hug during a celebration can be interpreted as inappropriate behavior. The enforcement of these rules falls largely to the morality police, whose presence across cities reinforces the boundaries between acceptable and forbidden conduct. The penalties are not merely symbolic. In some documented cases, individuals accused of improper conduct have faced fines, detention, or corporal punishment. One widely discussed case involved a couple who embraced during their engagement ceremony in front of family and guests. Instead of celebrating their commitment, they were later charged with violating public morality and sentenced to 74 lashes each. The severity of the punishment shocked many observers and sparked intense debate both inside and outside the country. Yet despite the atmosphere of caution and scrutiny, human affection has proven difficult to erase. Young couples still meet quietly, finding moments of connection within a system that closely monitors their behavior. In such circumstances, even the smallest display of tenderness carries profound meaning, reminding many Iranians that love itself can become a quiet form of defiance. In the modern world, the camera on a smartphone has become one of the most powerful tools of personal expression. With a single tap, people capture moments of their lives and share them instantly with the world. A smile, a new outfit, a casual selfie in the mirror, these images are often nothing more than fragments of everyday life. Yet in Iran, even a photograph can carry unexpected consequences. Social media exists under strict scrutiny, and images that appear harmless elsewhere can be interpreted as violations of moral codes. A woman posting a selfie without a hijab, wearing Western-style clothing, or displaying makeup considered too bold may suddenly find herself under investigation. For authorities, such images can be framed as promoting indecency or spreading moral corruption. Over the years, influencers, models, and ordinary citizens have been questioned or arrested because of what they shared online. One of the most widely known cases involved Sahar Tabar, a young Iranian woman who gained international attention in 2019 for posting heavily edited photos that transformed her appearance into a surreal, almost ghost-like figure. What began as an internet curiosity quickly turned into a legal case. She was arrested and accused of several serious offenses, spending more than a year in detention before her eventual release. Her story illustrated how quickly digital fame can become a source of danger. In an environment where online activity is closely monitored, the smartphone camera can feel less like a tool of freedom and more like a silent witness. For many Iranians navigating social media today, every photo carries an unspoken question: how much of yourself is truly safe to show? Throughout history, the act of protest has often been the moment when ordinary people step forward and challenge the forces that shape their lives. In many societies, raising a voice in the streets is seen as a fundamental civic right, a way for citizens to express frustration, demand change, or call attention to injustice. In Iran, however, protest carries risks that extend far beyond arrest. Under the country's legal system, certain forms of political dissent can be prosecuted under the charge of moharebe, a term meaning enmity against God. Within Iran's interpretation of Islamic law, this accusation is among the most serious a person can face, and in extreme cases, it can carry the death penalty. The tension surrounding this law became visible to the world during the wave of protests that erupted in 2022 following the death of Mahsa Amini. What began as demonstrations against the enforcement of the hijab law quickly expanded into a broader movement questioning authority, social restrictions, and the future direction of the country. Crowds filled the streets of Tehran and other cities chanting the now famous slogan, "Woman, Life, Freedom." But the government's response was swift and uncompromising. Security forces moved to disperse demonstrations, thousands of protesters were detained, and courts began processing cases at extraordinary speed. One of the most widely reported cases involved Majidreza Ranavard, a young man accused of killing 2 security officers during the unrest. Only weeks after his arrest, he was publicly executed. His death became a symbol of the immense stakes surrounding political dissent in Iran. Supporters of the government argue that such measures are necessary to maintain stability and national security, while critics view them as evidence of a system that punishes opposition with overwhelming force. Between these opposing narratives lies a nation wrestling with profound questions about power, authority, and the cost of demanding change. Beyond laws that regulate clothing behavior or public speech lies an even deeper question, one that touches the core of human identity: the right to believe, to love, and to define who we truly are. In Iran, these deeply personal choices can become matters of law. Under the country's interpretation of Islamic legal codes, same-sex relationships are criminalized and can lead to severe punishments, including imprisonment, lashes, or in some cases, the death penalty. As a result, many members of the LGBTQ community live carefully hidden lives, often concealing their relationships even from close friends and family. Fear of exposure becomes part of everyday existence. Religious belief presents another sensitive boundary. While Iran officially recognizes a limited number of minority faiths, leaving Islam to adopt another religion can be treated as apostasy, one of the most serious accusations within the system. Over the years, several cases have drawn international attention, including that of Christian pastor Youcef Nadarkhani, who was sentenced to death in 2010 after converting from Islam. Following strong international pressure, the sentence was eventually overturned, yet he still spent years imprisoned and faced repeated legal challenges. Stories like his reveal how belief itself can become entangled with political authority. For many Iranians navigating these realities, identity is not simply a personal matter. It is something negotiated carefully within the boundaries of law and social pressure. Yet despite those constraints, countless individuals continue to search for ways to live authentically. Their choices, often quiet and unseen, reflect a universal human instinct, the desire to exist honestly in the world, even when that honesty demands extraordinary courage. Sometimes the most powerful stories in history are not about wars, revolutions, or great leaders, but about the quiet struggle to live an ordinary life. A strand of hair moving in the wind, a melody sung from the heart, a dance shared between friends, a simple embrace, a photograph, a belief, a voice raised in the street. These are small human moments, yet in certain places they carry extraordinary weight. The story of Iran, as seen through these rules and real events, is not only a story about laws or politics. It is a story about the tension between authority and individuality, between control and dignity. Across decades of restrictions and controversy, millions of people continue navigating this complex reality every day. Some obey, some resist, many simply endure. And perhaps that is the deeper lesson hidden beneath it all. When even the smallest freedoms become contested, the desire for dignity does not disappear. It grows stronger quietly, reminding the world that the human spirit has always been far more difficult to control than any law. Freedom is often easiest to overlook when it quietly exists in our everyday lives. The ability to speak openly, share ideas, express creativity, or simply live without fear of punishment can feel ordinary until it disappears. The stories we explored today remind us that civil liberties are never guaranteed forever. They survive only when societies remain aware, engaged, and willing to protect them. For viewers around the world, especially here in the United States, this is a reminder that freedom is not just a right, it is a responsibility. If this story made you think, share it so more people can learn from it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the channel for more powerful historical and global stories.